All right, guys, welcome to the shack. Tonight, I've got a little quick job I got to do. And, guys, I'm going to start this video off by telling you, do not do this, okay? I don't normally do this, but this is a favor. Uh, I'm pretty confident we can pull it off successfully. And so we're going to try it. But it is very reckless. I did tell the customer, which just so happens to be my boss, that there's a slim chance that I could mess this thing up. Even though this is a leather $40 binder, I think we're good. It smells like real leather. For 40 bucks, it should be real leather. I don't know how thick it is. I'm praying that this goes well. So if you want to see how it goes and how I best prepare the best way that I can, seeing as it's a one-off, then stick around and I'll show you how I do it. But again, don't do what I'm doing tonight, guys. Be safe and always have one to try out before you go to doing the real thing. But we're not going to do that tonight, so stick around. All right, guys, for tonight's project, because this is not really that big, I need a machine that's really accurate, that does really good on detail, and one that I've got a little bit of experience with how it cuts. So tonight we'll be using the MK2. It does have a light burn camera. I can frame, get everything like I want it, get it set up. This is a really, this is risky. All right, guys. Like I said, again, don't try this at home. Now, I'm going to do the best that I can and try to come up with the settings that I need for this material. The problem that I have is that this is really, really thin leather. So I'm concerned about that, which means that to be on the safe side, I'm going to run really, really low power settings to try to mark it without cutting through it, because that is a real possibility. I've messed around with some other like fake leathers, pleathers, and stuff like that, and it is a real possibility that you can cut all the way through it if you're not careful. So the object of tonight's mission is going to be to place this in there so that it cannot move. That's one more reason why I want to use the Lasermatic, is because it does have the fixed honeycomb. The machine's not bad to move around or wiggle. I'm going to be using some of my little homemade holders also, and we're going to try to get it to stay in the same spot. But first, before we do this, we're going to play around. I've got some regular leather, and this is definitely much thicker than what is on that, so we can't really go by the depth. But what I do want to try to do, since I haven't done a lot of leather with the Rolly or the Lasermatic, is I want to try to come up with some estimated settings to at least mark it, but not dig a whole lot into it. So we're going to try this. This may be a total disaster. It may end in destroying this binder. But maybe I'm just being arrogant or cocky, but I think I've got enough experience with the diode lasers, and I think I've got a good enough system figured out that we can do this. So first things first, guys, I'm going to get everything set up, move over to the machine, and load our little test material that we're going to have here. And what I want to try to do, this, you can see I've used this for testing with other machines as well. But what we're going to try to do is come up with just enough to mark it, but not cut through it. So let me work on getting that set up. We'll be right back. All right, so I've got our guinea pig in there, and we are going to do a little bit of testing with some settings just to see how much it takes to actually mark it. I've considered masking the material. I've considered all of my options, guys. And I think that at this point, the best approach is to go with this, probably without air assist, because I'm not going to mask it, because I'm afraid if I mask it, that the power that it's going to take me to get through the masking could potentially cut through the leather. So I'm not going to mask it. I'm not going to run air assist, which I almost always run air assist. But tonight, I think if I run air assist, it may cause a little more staining and soot deposits around the burn than what I want. So we're going to be turning the air assist off and doing our test right quick to just try to get us a ballpark, because guys, that's all I got. All right, so I'm going to move you down to the screen where you can see what's going on there. All right, so here's my little test piece of material. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out just using some of the area that I've already, kind of messed up. And I'm just going to put me a little X right here in the middle of this test area. And what I'm going to do is try to come up with some settings. Like I said, I want it to be, that's going to be a little hot. So I want it to be fast because this is going to be a big engrave, but I still want to leave a mark. So I'm going to try 200 millimeters a second at 100% power, leaving the DPI or the LPI at 127 to start with. And we're just going to run this little X right here and see how it does. Now, I do want to make sure my air assist is off because with the MK2, as we know, it's got automatic air. So you have to make sure you got that turned off. But I'm going to go ahead and send that out and make sure I did update my overlay properly here. So I'm going to go ahead and send that out, and we'll look at it and see what it looks like. One thing to remember when messing with leather, guys, is do not smudge it. You want to try to get that soot off of there before you touch it. So let me ride over there on my chair and check that out, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, guys, so straight off of the laser, that's our little X we did, and it actually looks remarkably good. I got no shadowing around it with soot or anything, so I'm going to take it over to compressed air. I'm going to hit that guy real good to get all of that soot out of there, and then we'll look at it. All right, so now that I've used the compressed air, I've tried to remove as much of the soot as possible with the compressed air. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a piece of t-shirt cloth, dry. Don't put anything on it. If you try to use, this is some stuff where I did some testing, showed somebody else. If you try to use a cleaning agent of some type, you're going to wind up spreading what soot is on there. So I just use a dry cloth and I just kind of wipe it a little bit. You're going to get a little bit of the soot is going to move around, but what I do is I just take and just kind of almost like you're waxing a car or something, and just rub it around real good, and then there we go. So that is very acceptable, and I got a little bit of burn. I just basically burned the slick part of the leather off and exposed the little fibers underneath, and that's exactly what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to go too deep. So that looks pretty good. Like I said, not all leather is created equal. I'm aware of that, guys. But this leather, it appears it's going to be thick enough, hopefully, to survive what we're about to do to it. It wouldn't hurt my feelings any if I could go just a little less. So let's try going one more pass. Let's do one more test, and let's kind of pick the speed up a little more to see if I can get a little less burn. And for those of you that probably are going to ask me later, these are my little magnetic hold downs that I use, especially with the Rolly, because it basically has a jig built into the bed. And so you can actually use these in the corners of the workspace to square stuff up, and use one in one corner, one in the other to hold things still. So it's really handy. But let's put our test material back in here, and we're going to run one more test. I'm going to try to ease up on the power just a little more to see if I can still get through that first layer but not burn too much. And because the leather does curl real bad, and I can't put one of my holders over near where the laser is, I put the back of that curl behind the laser module. That way there's no danger of it hanging on it as it goes out to make the cut or coming back. So let's get back down to light burning. Let's do this again. All right, so I'm going to take and update my overlay, and I'm going to move my little X right over here on this side of those tests. I've learned now that an X is really all I need to see on leather. So I used to do the word test, not anymore. So we did 200 at 100% power. That worked okay, but I want to try to go a little lighter. I can always run this thing twice if I need to, but I would rather go too light than too heavy, because too light can be redone, too heavy is going to burn through it. So I'm going to run 225 at 100 this time and see what it does. And I'll move you over to the camera where you can see a little bit of what's going on there. All right, let's check it out. And don't be disappointed when you clean leather if most of the black goes away. That happens with leather. There's really nothing that I have found that's going to keep it completely black because it's cowhide. If you want it to be black, then you're going to have to mask it and paint it. But like I said, I'm afraid to use masking on this because I'm afraid that the power settings may punch holes through it as well as as it would the masking. So there's that little X that we did right there. That turned out really well. It's not quite as deep as the other one, but it's still plenty dark. I'm a little nervous on this job, guys, because that's a $40 binder. Let's go up one more time. I just want to try to get just enough power to leave the mark. Oh, did I mention? Don't try this at home and blame me for it. Uh, I'm hoping this works out. Maybe I'm a little overconfident, but I think I can pull this off. What I'm going to do this time, instead of upping the speed, because speed can vary based on the workspace because of the acceleration and so forth. So I'm going to back the power down to 90 and try that. So let me show you the screen what we got here. So back the power settings. I'm at 225 millimeters a second, 90% power, no air, nothing else changed. I'm gonna put me another X. I'm gonna put this one kind of right beside that one so that I can compare the two. And I'm gonna move you over where you can see the camera here. I apologize for not having another camera, but this is one of those jobs I had to get done tonight. So not a whole lot of setup time to spare. So, oh, hear that? Can you hear that, guys? That little squeaking noise. I think we found our setting. Typically, that little squeaking noise is the material resonating to the frequency of the laser, and I have found that you can actually listen to the laser. And guys, you may think I'm crazy, but you can listen to the sounds that the laser makes a lot of times and tell what the results is going to be. And I think that's going to be a pretty good result. So I'm going to look at it. I sure hope y'all can hear that. Y'all can hear that noise. If you can't, I'm going to try and post to actually pull it up. So I apologize for the background noise. But there's what it looks like straight off of the laser. It looks nice off to the air hose. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Hearing that sound makes me feel more confident about this setting. Because I don't know how to explain it. If you run these things enough, you'll find that certain materials make sounds when you're on that sweet spot. Yes, that is going to be it. Just enough burn, but not too much. And I wish you could see this a little better. Let me. Where's my phone, guys? I had a phone around here somewhere. Stand by. I'm going to take you a really good picture with the phone. And I know those two words sometimes don't go together, but it is an iPhone. It takes really good pictures. So I'm gonna zoom in over here and take a picture and just let you look. Now this is zoomed way in, guys. But let me zoom it out just a little bit. All right. So I'll drop that picture right there so you can look at it. And I think that's the look that we're going for. Even with the other material being a lot thinner than what this is, that I think is a safe setting because it's just enough to rough up the surface but not to get through it. So I feel confident with the setting. Hopefully I'm right. And we're fixing to get this thing set up and get ready to engrave it. All right, guys. So after a little bit of setting up the jig, I had to take the honeycomb out. And guys, that's one more thing I like about the Rolly for a lot of projects that I do. Although it does have a limited Z as far as the thickness, and of course it has a limited bed size, when you need something jigged out and held really secure, the Rolly does not disappoint. Now, sorry, Rolly, but I had to take their idea and improve upon it just a little bit because they send you the little bars and you can make L's and you can put them exactly on the screw holes. But I had to engineer my own adjustable jigs, as you will see. and they've come in really, really handy. So I'm going to show you how I got this set up, and we're fixing to try this burn, see how this works out, guys. First off, as you can see, I'm using the Rollies little bars. You can't see them under the edge, but I've got basically like a frame built using the little bars that they send you that have the pins and the single screw in the middle. And then because this material, the width of it wasn't exactly the right measurement to line up with these little holes, I used some of my little Clack Shack adjustable jigs. And guys, if you have a Rolly MK2 and you're gonna go get the jig panel, which by the way, guys, I will be putting links down below. Those are affiliate links. If you're interested in any of the products, check it out below. But anyway, if you get the jig panel, I sure hope you didn't throw the screws away that held that little extra bar in, because they're really long and they fit this panel. Right now, I've got 3 of these little jigs that I've cut. They're shaped basically the same. I got a few different sizes just in case I need a different one, but I've got 3 of them stacked up, and the screw that comes out of that little bar that holds, the shipping bar as they call it, those are the screws that I use to hold those in place. And I've got 4 of them. So if I happen to lose a couple of these, I got to get extras. It's got adjustable slots over here that fit the screws, and it's got 2 fixed slots right here in case you do get lucky and line them up. So you can use it either way. You can use it as fixed, or you can use it as adjustable. But I use them mostly as adjustable because the little bars that they send you with the machine do a really good job until you run into this situation. So there's no way this is moving. It's got little metal brackets all the way around it. It's got this thing stacked 3/4 of an inch high, kind of holding pressure against it to hold it over here. It is not moving. So now what I've got to do, guys, is I've got to figure out exactly where I want to put this thing. Now, for this design, guys, I've got to put a logo on there. Like I said, this is my boss's my boss's job. So I'm trying not to get fired here too. We're going to be using the city logo for the city of Clanton, because this is the mayor's piece of equipment that we may be fixing to destroy. And I'm going to go ahead and use this to align it horizontally. My horizontal frame looked really, really good. So I don't want to go too big with this because I think it'll look a little out of place if I do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to frame using the regular frame. All right, I'm not crossing over the seam. So this is the way it's lined up. This is the way the design is kind of laid out. I don't know that I want to leave all of this as lines, but I think with it being leather, that's probably going to be the best look we can go for. I've done this design on other materials, and it turned out pretty good. It's not the best file ever, but you know what? Y'all ready to go for it? It's like gambling. Y'all ready to try this and see if it works? I mean, I'm a little pained by the weight and the anticipation. So here goes nothing, guys. Back to the screen. All right, 3, 2, 1, and let's hope it doesn't cost us $40, guys. Oh, a lot of faith in the Rolly that is consistent. I will say that. And like I said, the Lasermatic, one thing I will say about the machine is it is probably one of the more accurate and consistent and smoother running machines. I have a lot of confidence in the fact that it's going to go where I want it to go. There's not going to be any shadowing. There's not going to be any missteps, lines out of place. It is going to burn this graphic the way that the graphic looks on the screen, as long as it doesn't burn it through it. I got to go peek. Nailed it. I do not know that I'm going to like the line look, though. The dot size on this machine is so fine. I'm not sure that's going to be the look that he wants to go with. So we may have to go back over it again. And this setting looks perfect. But we'll see. I'm going to let it run, and then we'll decide after that. But so far, it looks like we picked a good set. Another plus to the Rolly. Hello, Callie. Besides being cat safe, another plus to the Rolly is sometimes, especially with something that's kind of semi-glossy like this, Lasermatic. Sorry, guys. But another plus is that, like with this, looking in from the front, it's kind of hard to see it. But if you get just right with those lights in there, you can see your design. So I do like the panoramic view that it offers as well. But starting to smell a little bit of burnt leather. Not bad, but that's to be expected. I do have it on a 20-foot hose going to my exhaust over here. So. And my secondary fan is on, but just a warning, guys. Leather smells when you're engraving it, and you will be able to smell it. I don't know of many machines that you can at least smell a hint of it. So if you're doing a lot of leather, you may want to do it in your garage, maybe outside. I wouldn't do it in your house a lot. Yeah, the more I look at it, I think I'm going to let it go with this look because it is leather, and the more I engrave and the more I etch into it, the more risk that I have of the contrast not being right. This looks like it was stamped in there with some type of blade stamp, which is really, really cool. A cool look. The only problem I'm going to have is now, if I'm going to go with this look, I'm going to have to make my text, because I've got to put the mayor's name on it too. So now I've got to make my text have this same appearance. So, but I know how to do that. So we're good. We're going to let this burn, and that's why I'm using a jig, so I can let this burn. If I'm not happy with it, guys, I can always run it again, and this machine will go exactly where it went this time. But because of the thin leather that we're working with, I don't want to have to do that too many times because we'll end up with a hole in it. So I think we're going to let this, this look looks fancy, for lack of a better word. So I think I'm going to let that ride. So it should be getting about close to finish. It is kind of hard to make it out through the orange acrylic because of the browns and everything, though. So I'm at least going to raise the lid and look at it before I decide. Yeah, I think that looks fine. It's kind of getting lost in the leather a little bit. So let's play with the design and just let me just look at it for a second. All right, so I wonder if I can update the overlay and you actually see it. Yes, I can. All right, so I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna delete it, but I'll be able to backspace. See, this is what I'm saying. It looks stamped in there. It looks pretty nice. It's just not all that visible because of the contrast between the line work and the leather. So I'm gonna hit the undo button so that my graphic goes right back where it was. So I've thought about, I could go into each one of these letters right here and ungroup everything and take the offsets out. But a lot of this, because this is kind of a crummy graphic, it's not gonna work right. So I think we best leave well enough alone on that part. And we'll just take and set this to a tool line so that it does not try to burn again. And we're just going to do the text, and we're going to call it done. I'm afraid if I try to mess with this graphic, it's going to end up looking bad. But we did get a good little burn on it, so we'll go from there. So now I'm going to do the text. All right, and you'll see why I'm leaving the graphic there in just a minute. All right, so I want to make this about as wide as that is. So I'm going to click on the graphic. The graphic is 117 wide. So I'm going to make this 117 wide. Go ahead and lock the aspect ratio there. 117. And I'm going to move it over into the center with this. So I'm going to click the text first, image next, and then I'm going to do center align right here. And I'm going to put it right there. Now, the font up here is kind of a boxy block font, so I'm going to try to match the font up best I can. That's a little too much. Did they just use Arial Black, maybe? Actually, Arial Black looks pretty nice. It looks similar. This is all caps, so it's a little hard to say. All right, so since this did more of an outline sketch, I kind of want the text to do the same. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to do an offset, and I'm going to set this for like a 1.5 millimeter offset. That's a little too much. We'll do a 1 millimeter offset. See what that looks like. So that'll give us a little bit of an engrave, and it'll kind of match the effect that we got with this, because it's not going to be a solid engrave. The line's going to be a little thicker, so I think I may 0.5. Let's see what 0.5 looks like. Okay, that's closer. If you look at the thickness of this and the thickness of this is much closer. It's probably going to be a little more pronounced, but I'm good with that. So what I've done, I'm going to go back and double check, guys. I'm going to click that first. I'm going to hold Control, click my graphic next, and I'm going to align vertical center. And also, I want to click this. This should be 117 wide, I think, what this was. So the width did change when I was doing all my offsets. So I'm going to click this, leaving the lock on so it stays proportional. I'm going to go ahead and hit 117. Whoa, back up. All right, so I'm going to go from right to left with the select tool this time to get all of that text, because somehow it missed part of it. So now I'm going to do 117 and hit enter, and it's going to resize the text. So yes, we're definitely about the same thickness as what this was now with the text. So we're going to send it, because the object here is to accomplish the task without ruining it. So here we go, sending it out. All right. So all in all, I think, like I said, they can't blame me that their artwork is not great, and they can't blame me that this leather is really dark. So all in all, I'm going to call this a win. It does have that stamped look, and I like the look of that. And as long as my text looks the same, we're going to call it a win, guys. And I'll get it out, let you see it. I'll even try to take some pictures with my phone, because I know this camera is going to do a terrible job of showing you guys what it looks like. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty well for what it is, and the fact that I had no test pieces. I was scared to death about, you know, whether the settings were going to be accurate or not, and I think it turns out pretty good. But did I mention, don't try this, don't do it like this. Get you a test material and go that route. This is scary. It'll get your blood pressure up. Because this guy could like fire me tomorrow. Like I could go to work. He could say, "You screwed up my binder. You're fired," and I'd be fired. Now he assured me today that if I did mess it up, he wasn't worried about it. It wasn't going to be a big deal, and that he would not fire me. I made him promise he would not. So hopefully I'll still have a job tomorrow. All right, y'all ready to see it? I'm going to try to show it to you if you can see it on here. You can kind of see the glare of it there. But it kind of looks stamped. It does smell like burnt leather. Try to get my big head out of the picture with the shadowing. But I'll drop a couple of those pictures up here. And like I said, you can see it kind of looks like either stamped or carved into the material. It's not too like up in your face, but in the event that he was to lose this and someone picks it up and looks at it, it is obviously property of the city of Clanton, Mayor Jeff Mims. So, and yes, I spelt everything correctly. We didn't burn a hole in it. There's no smoke coming out of here. Guys, we did it. That's it, right? All right, guys. So, mission successful. I'm going to call it a night for risky projects. Again, not the way that you should do these. But guys, let's face it. If you're running a laser business and people are asking you to do stuff, you're going to have those times where somebody's going to bring you something and they're going to say, "Hey, can you do this?" And you really don't know. You have no idea. Now, because I've been doing this long as I have, because I knew I had some leather that I could use to kind of get me some good ballpark settings, I felt like I could work through it. But you have to make sure when you're doing stuff like this to decide in your mind, if I mess up, is this mistake, am I willing to pay $40 for this mistake? Because that's what it would have cost me. He said he wasn't going to hold me to it, but I would have had to replace it if I'd have messed it up. So try to stay with stuff that you're comfortable with, and if you don't feel comfortable with it, do not be afraid to say no. Just let them know that it's not worth the risk, it's not worth the loss on your part, and that you just don't want to do it. But if you can, maybe they'll offer to pay extra to help you buy a blank to use. I have had people do that. They're like, I really want this done. I'll pay half for the blank if you'll just do it. So you never know. But like I said, with this one, I did tell him there was a real risk something could go horribly wrong, but I felt 80% confident that I could pull it off and be successful. So I hope you liked the video, guys. Like I said, the machine behind me, of course, the Rolly or Automation Lasermatic MK2. This is the 1030 switchable model. This is also got the jig bed in it. I've got the chuck, the whole 9 yards. But as you can see, guys, my little the jig bed's really handy for one-offs like this. You can kind of see my little stack of little makeshift jigs over there. And if enough people are interested in them, I could put them on the Etsy shop if you don't want to try to build your own. It's pretty simple file, so as long as you can measure the bed, figure out your spacing and all that, it's not complicated. So feel free to play with that idea. But if anybody asks or enough people ask, then that is something I could see putting on the Etsy shop. But I haven't used the Lasermatic in a lot of videos lately, so I wanted to include it tonight. And just so happened that this job was going to be one of those jobs that it was perfectly suited for. And that a lot of times, guys, y'all ask me what's the best machine. It depends. Tonight, the best machine to do this job with was the Lasermatic. That's why I used it. Tomorrow night, I may have a different project, and it may not be the best machine. So it depends a lot on what you're doing, but I find that having a variety of machines gives me a lot of ability to do different things because I have machines with massive bed space that can drop down a foot, power Z bed or whatever. I have machines that can cut clear acrylic. I have machines that can do basically anything else. So that's something to keep in mind is versatility in your shop. So even if you've already got a machine and you think that this thing brings something to the table, what the heck? So look for links down below, guys. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Facebook, please. And if nothing else, we'll see you next time because there'll be more content coming soon. So until then, be careful and have a good day.